The wind howled across the frozen plains of Varela 9. Snowflakes cut through the air like shards of glass, covering the ground in a thick white blanket. A lonely human explorer named Ethan Cross drove his old snow rover through the storm. His breath fogged up his helmet visor, and the cold seeped through every layer of his suit. He had been searching for mineral deposits for weeks, but the scanners showed nothing except ice and silence. Ethan was tired, hungry, and ready to return to his small outpost. He looked at the endless white horizon and muttered, "Another wasted day." But then, a soft beeping came from his dashboard. It was faint, a heat signal, not from any known machinery or creature on this planet. The reading was weak, unstable, and fading fast. Ethan frowned and whispered, "What the hell is that?" He followed the signal through the blizzard. Visibility dropped to almost zero, and his headlights barely reached 10 meters ahead. After a few minutes, he saw something strange buried under the snow. A metallic curve, smooth and glowing faintly blue. It didn't look human-made. Ethan parked his rover and stepped out into the freezing wind. Each step sank deep into the snow as he made his way toward the object. When he brushed the snow away, he realized it was a pod, about the size of a small car. It had alien markings across the surface, symbols that pulsed weakly with light. He bent down, wiping more snow off the side, and gasped. Through a frost-covered window, he could see a figure inside, a woman. No, not human. Her skin pale silver, her hair like threads of light. Her chest moved slightly. She was still alive. Ethan's heart raced. He called out, even though she couldn't hear him, "Hey, can you hear me?" No answer. He tried to open the pod, but the controls were frozen solid. So he pulled out his plasma cutter and began melting the locks one by one. The storm roared louder, almost as if warning him to stop. But he didn't. When the pod opened, warm air and strange mist escaped. Inside, he saw the alien mother, her body weak and trembling. And beside her, two small shapes wrapped in glowing fabric. Babies, tiny, fragile, with faint blue skin and soft pulses of light beneath it. Ethan froze in disbelief. He had never seen alien infants before. They looked peaceful even in danger, but their breathing was slow. Too slow. The mother's eyes opened weakly, her lips trembling. She looked straight at Ethan, and for a moment, their eyes met. Fear, pain, and hope all mixed in that single glance. She tried to speak, but only a soft sound came out. Then, with shaking fingers, she reached toward him and pressed something into his hand. It was a small crystal pendant, glowing faintly pink. She whispered something in her own language. Ethan didn't understand, but it sounded like a plea. Then she fainted. Ethan felt panic rise in his chest. He looked at the twins. One of them started crying softly, a glowing tear running down its cheek. He knew they would all die if he stayed here. He had to act fast without thinking. He lifted the alien mother into his arms. Her body was light but freezing cold. Then he gently picked up the two babies, wrapping them in his thick jacket. The storm screamed around him as he ran back to the rover. Snow blinded him. Wind pushed against him. But he didn't stop, not once. By the time he reached his vehicle, his suit temperature alarm was flashing red. He laid them carefully on the rover's heated seats and started the engine at full power. The vehicle roared to life and began climbing toward his outpost in the distance. Inside, the babies cried softly again, and the mother's breath grew weaker with every passing minute. Ethan reached out, touching her hand. "Hang on," he said. "I'll get you warm. Just stay with me." The journey back felt endless. The snow thickened and the rover struggled against the wind. Ethan gritted his teeth. Pushing forward, he couldn't explain it. But something deep inside told him this was bigger than a rescue. Something about those glowing babies. That mysterious pendant and the dying mother felt important. When he finally reached the outpost, he carried them inside. He laid the alien mother on the medical bed and placed the babies in the thermal chamber. The machines beeped softly, scanning their vitals. Their bodies were unlike anything human. Different blood composition, different heartbeat rhythm. Ethan shook his head, amazed and scared at the same time. He looked down at the pendant still glowing in his hand. He didn't know what it meant, but somehow it felt alive. He placed it on the table beside the mother. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but inside, 3 new lives hung on the edge between death and survival. Ethan sat beside them, exhausted but alert. He didn't know that this night, this single act of kindness, would soon make him the most wanted man in the galaxy. The small outpost was silent except for the sound of machines beeping softly in the cold night. Ethan Cross stood beside the alien mother's bed, his breath heavy, his hands trembling. He had seen many strange things during his years as a deep space miner, but nothing like this. Before him lay a dying alien woman and 2 newborn babies whose skin glowed softly in the dim light. He didn't even know their species, but he knew one thing. If he didn't act fast, they wouldn't survive. He adjusted the oxygen mix inside the chamber and ran a quick scan. The readings made no sense. Their blood wasn't red, it shimmered blue, and their heartbeat pattern was strange. Almost musical, he whispered. "What are you, little ones?" The scanner beeped again, showing their body temperature dropping quickly. He cursed under his breath. "Damn it, they're freezing." Ethan opened the storage locker. Pulling out every heating pad he could find, he wrapped the alien mother and the babies carefully. Checking their vitals again, the temperature rose slightly, a small victory. He sat beside the bed, exhausted but refusing to rest. He had no medical training for alien biology, but he refused to give up. Hours passed, and the snowstorm outside kept raging. Shaking the outpost walls, the alien mother stirred faintly. Her breathing shallow and uneven, Ethan leaned close. "You're safe now. I found you," he said softly. Her eyes opened, and bright silver, full of pain and sadness. She looked at her babies, then back at him. Tears formed in her eyes as she reached for his arm weakly. Her lips moved, trying to speak. Ethan leaned closer. "What is it? What do you need?" Her voice was fragile, barely a whisper. "Protect them." Then her hand fell limp. The heart monitor gave a long, flat tone. Ethan froze, his throat tightening. "No, no, no," he muttered, pressing buttons, trying to revive her. But it was too late. The alien mother's pulse was gone. For a moment, Ethan just stood there, staring at her peaceful face. He didn't even know her name, but her final words echoed in his mind. "Protect them." He looked at the babies, now crying softly in their glowing blankets. He whispered, "I will." He turned off the medical alarm and sat beside them. The outpost felt colder now, emptier. He couldn't bury her yet, not while the storm raged outside, so he covered her body with a silver thermal sheet, bowing his head in silence. In that moment, the human miner felt something he hadn't felt in years: responsibility. The babies soon stopped crying, their small hands glowing faintly as if reacting to his voice. One of them reached toward him, touching his wrist. A soft warmth spread through his skin. Ethan gasped. Their touch wasn't just warm, it felt alive. The monitors blinked. Their heart rate stabilized for the first time since he found them. He smiled weakly. "Guess you two trust me already." He began studying the crystal pendant the alien mother had given him. The object shimmered faintly, pulsing with light. When he held it near a console, the light changed color. He frowned, connecting it to his scanner. Suddenly, the pendant projected a faint hologram above the table, a series of alien symbols and sounds. It was a message, but the language was unknown. Still, Ethan could tell from the tone, it was a farewell. He saw an image of the alien mother holding her babies, smiling softly. Then, the projection shifted to show planets, warships, explosions, and finally a message symbol flashing red. Ethan didn't understand it all, but one word kept appearing in translation software: hunted. His heart pounded. So that was why she was here. She had been running from someone, maybe from an entire army, and now he was the one who had her children. Ethan rubbed his face, muttering, "Great, I just made myself a target." He looked at the twins. Innocent, unaware, sleeping peacefully, he couldn't abandon them. Not after what their mother said. He spent the rest of the night checking the air composition and pressure in the chamber. Through trial and error, he discovered they breathed better when the air was rich in argon, not oxygen. It was a strange mix, but it stabilized their readings. He carefully modified the chamber to suit their needs. When he was done, he sank into his chair, exhausted. The pendant still glowed faintly on the table beside him, like a heartbeat. Outside, the storm began to calm. Ethan looked out the window at the frozen land. White and silent again, he thought about how alone he was. A single human in an alien galaxy, and yet somehow he didn't feel alone anymore. He whispered, "Your mother's gone, but I'll keep her promise. I'll keep you safe." Just then, the radar alarm blared loudly. Ethan jumped to his feet and looked at the screen. 2 unknown ships had entered orbit above the planet. His blood ran cold. They were scanning the surface, probably searching for survivors or energy signatures. He quickly turned off all power systems except life support, plunging the outpost into darkness. The only light came from the baby's faint glow and the pendant's soft pulse. Ethan crouched near the window, watching the sky turn red as the ships passed overhead. His mind raced. If they found him, he'd be arrested, or worse. He looked back at the twins, small and silent now. He whispered, "Don't worry. They won't find us," but deep inside he knew this was only the beginning. He had just become the protector of 2 alien lives, and a direct enemy of the galactic law. As the ships drifted away into the night sky, Ethan exhaled slowly. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was certain. He wasn't turning back. The mother's last words echoed again in his mind, steady and clear, "Protect them." And that was exactly what he was going to do. The next morning came slowly, pale light seeping through the frosted glass of the outpost. Ethan Cross hadn't slept all night. He sat in front of the glowing pendant, eyes red from exhaustion, mind full of questions. Who were those ships? Who was the alien mother? And most of all, what secret was inside this crystal she had given him? The pendant pulsed again, softly at first, then brighter. As if it could feel his thoughts, Ethan leaned closer, connecting it to his portable scanner. The machine hummed and projected the same hologram as before. But this time, something changed. The symbols began rearranging themselves, forming clearer shapes and translating slowly into human text. He whispered, "Come on, show me what you're hiding." A soft female voice filled the room. Calm but urgent, it spoke in an alien language. But the translator caught fragments. "If you find this message, the royal bloodline, hunted, save them." The hologram shifted, showing an image of the alien mother standing before a council of tall figures. Their eyes glowing gold, her voice continued. "Our empire has fallen. The twins carry the last of our lineage. Their energy must not be used as weapon." Then static cut through the message. The translator stuttered, displaying broken text. "Galactic Law, 7B. Any life form protecting royal fugitives will face death." Ethan froze. He stared at the glowing message on his screen. His heart sank as the truth hit him. By saving those children, he had broken one of the highest galactic laws. He wasn't a rescuer anymore, he was now a criminal. He looked at the twins resting inside the chamber. They were sleeping peacefully, their soft glow flickering like candlelight. He sighed. "So, you're royal blood, huh? The last of your kind," he chuckled bitterly. "And I'm the idiot who picked you up in a snowstorm." But even as he said it, he smiled softly. He couldn't abandon them now, not after their mother's last words. The pendant flickered again, projecting new coordinates. A glowing dot in the hologram's map. Ethan zoomed in, reading the translation, "Sanctuary, the last haven." It was light years away, deep in the forbidden zone of the galaxy. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his chin. "So that's where I have to go." But the thought made him nervous. The ships that passed over the outpost last night, they were already searching. If he tried to leave, they'd notice. Still, staying here was death. He stood up, determination burning behind his tired eyes. "I promised her. I'll take them there." He began preparing the old starship docked under the outpost. The ship hadn't flown in years. Dust and frost covered the hull. He powered it up slowly, systems flickering to life one by one. The engines coughed, sparks flying. He muttered, "Come on, old girl, just one more flight." While the reactor warmed up, Ethan went back to check on the babies. One of them had woken up and was staring at him with glowing blue eyes. There was something deep in that gaze. Innocent, but also wise. Ethan smiled. "You have no idea what kind of mess we're in, do you?" The baby reached its hand out toward him. When Ethan touched it, he felt that same warm pulse again, almost like the child could sense his fear and calm it. He whispered, "You're something special," as he packed food, oxygen tanks, and power cells. The outpost radar beeped again. Another ship had entered orbit. This one wasn't scanning, it was landing. Ethan's heart pounded. He rushed to the window and saw bright lights piercing through the clouds. A transport vessel was descending, marked with the symbol of the galactic enforcers. He cursed under his breath. "They found me." He raced back to the chamber, securing the babies in small oxygen pods. The pendant glowed brighter now, reacting to the danger. It projected another short message. A different voice this time. Deeper, male. If the twins are discovered, use the beacon inside the pendant. It will shield them. The light expanded, forming a glowing bubble around the twins. Ethan's eyes widened. You're full of surprises, aren't you? Outside, heavy footsteps landed on the snow. He heard mechanical voices calling out, "Human presence detected. Surrender the fugitives." Ethan ran to the ship, activating the thrusters. The ground shook as he lifted off, snow bursting around the outpost. Laser fire streaked across the sky as the Enforcer's drones fired at him. He twisted the controls, shouting, "Hold together, just hold together!" The ship shot upward through the storm. Engines screaming, warning alarms blared. Hull damage. Low shields, unstable reactor, but he didn't stop. He could see the stars now, bright and endless ahead of him. Behind him, the outpost exploded as the Enforcers hit it. He whispered, "Goodbye, home." When he reached the upper atmosphere, he activated the hyperdrive manually. The pendant on the console pulsed faster, syncing with the ship's system. It projected the same coordinates again, the last haven. Ethan smiled tiredly. All right then. Let's see what's waiting for us. He pushed the lever forward. The ship roared, stretching into the stars as the galaxy blurred into streaks of light. Inside the quiet ship, the twins slept peacefully in their pods. Ethan leaned back in the pilot seat. Staring at them, he whispered, "Your mother died to save you. I'll make sure that means something." He took one last look at the pendant, glowing softly like a tiny star in his hand. He didn't know what kind of world the last haven was, but he knew one thing for sure. The promise he made was no longer just hers. It was his too, and somewhere behind him. In the vast darkness of space, the Enforcers sent out a galactic alert. Human fugitive Ethan Cross, charged with harboring royal fugitives. Capture alive. The hunt had begun. Stars stretched into long white lines as Ethan Cross's ship tore through hyperspace. He sat at the controls, eyes fixed on the glowing coordinates ahead. The pendant pulsed beside him. Acting as a strange guide, it hummed every few minutes, almost as if it was alive and leading him somewhere, protecting the twins sleeping in the small medical pods behind him. For the first time in days, Ethan let himself breathe. He looked back at the babies, their tiny chests rising and falling. Glowing faintly blue in the dim light, he smiled weakly. "You two sure know how to bring trouble?" The silence of space surrounded them, calm and endless. But deep down, he knew peace never lasted long. A red light blinked on the dashboard. Ethan frowned and leaned closer. "Unidentified signal detected," the system announced in its dull, robotic voice. He checked the scanner. A ship had dropped out of hyperspace behind him. Not just one, 3. His heart sank. They found me already. He increased speed, diverting all power to the engines. The old ship rattled, metal plates groaning. Lasers flashed behind him, thin red lines slicing through the dark. One of them hit the left wing, shaking the whole vessel. Ethan gritted his teeth. "Hold together, come on, hold together." He turned sharply, flying between 2 asteroid fields. Using the rocks as cover, the enemy ships followed, cutting through space like wolves hunting prey. Ethan flew fast, dodging debris, every movement timed perfectly. He had been a pilot once, long ago. Before he became a miner, old habits came back quickly. He weaved through the asteroid belt, lasers bouncing off the rocks. Explosions flashing behind him inside. The twins cried softly as the ship shook, their cries like echoes of fear. Ethan's chest tightened. "Don't cry, little ones. We're gonna make it." A bright explosion hit near the tail. Alarm screamed. The fuel cell was damaged. He had only minutes before the engines would fail. Thinking fast, he opened a side compartment and threw out a dozen metal decoys, heat emitters designed to confuse trackers. The enemy ship split up, following the false signals. For a few seconds, silence returned. Ethan used the moment to dive toward a small moon hidden behind the asteroid belt. Its surface was gray and empty and a perfect place to hide. He landed roughly, the ship sliding across the dusty ground before stopping near a crater. Steam hissed from the engines. Ethan sat still for a moment, breathing heavily. Then he whispered, "We're safe." For now. He stood up and checked the twins. One of them was awake, staring up at him with bright golden eyes. The other seemed weak, its glow dim and fading. Ethan's heart raced. "No, no, no. Stay with me." He checked the life scanner. Their vitals were dropping. He realized the crash had damaged the chamber's air system. Without the right gas balance, they couldn't breathe. He tore open a maintenance box and started repairing the system, hands shaking, sweat dripping from his face. He didn't care about the pain or the noise outside. All that mattered were the babies. Minutes passed like hours, and finally the chamber lights turned green again. The weaker twins' breathing stabilized. Ethan fell back, exhausted, whispering, "You scared me half to death, kid." He sat there for a long time, staring at them, their glow reflected in his tired eyes. He didn't understand why he cared so much. Maybe it was because they reminded him of something he had lost long ago. Family. Or maybe it was because their mother had trusted him with her last breath. Later, when the sky outside turned dark purple, Ethan scanned the area. The moon was abandoned, no life signs, no structures perfect for hiding but not for surviving. He checked his supplies, and oxygen low, food minimal, fuel nearly gone. He sighed. "We can't stay here long." As he leaned back, the pendant on his wrist flickered again. It projected another image, a strange map full of symbols. At the center was a star system he didn't recognize. The text translated slowly. "Safe route to Haven, use the nebula path." He smiled. "You're still helping us, aren't you?" But before he could plan, the radar beeped again. A massive energy reading approached the moon. He looked up through the cockpit window. A giant shadow covered the stars. "A cruiser-class hunter ship," Ethan cursed. "They never stop." He ran to the engine room, switching the systems to silent mode. The ship went dark, hiding its heat signature. He crouched near the window, watching through the haze. Searchlights scanned the surface, mechanical drones flying low, searching every rock and crater. He whispered, "If they find us, it's over." He stayed still, not moving, barely breathing. Minutes felt like hours. A drone passed right above his ship. Scanning the hull, the babies stirred softly, one of them letting out a faint cry. Ethan froze, holding his breath. The sound was quiet, but the drone paused, turning back. Ethan's heart stopped. The drone aimed its scanner toward the cockpit. He grabbed the pendant, praying for a miracle. And then, the pendant pulsed brightly. Releasing a thin wave of energy, the drone's sensors blinked. Confused, then turned away. Ethan exhaled in relief, whispering, "Thank you, whoever you are." After a few minutes, the hunter ship drifted away, leaving silence behind. Ethan sat back, shaking, his muscles weak. He looked at the pendant and whispered, "You saved us again." Then he turned to the twins, smiling faintly. "You two have angels watching over you." He spent the next hours repairing the ship, preparing for the next jump. The engines were damaged, but still usable. He entered the new coordinates and the nebula path. As the engines powered up, the babies began to glow brighter again. As if sensing something ahead, Ethan whispered, "Let's go find your safe place." The ship lifted slowly from the moon's dusty ground. Stars shimmered beyond the horizon, and the pendant's light grew stronger. He looked one last time at the dead world below and said softly, "I'm not running anymore. I'm protecting." Then he pushed the throttle forward. The ship soared into the stars, disappearing into the glowing fog of the nebula. But behind him, far away, the galactic cruiser changed course, following his trail once more. The chase had just begun. The endless void of space shimmered with light as Ethan's ship drifted through the glowing clouds of the nebula path. Purple mist surrounded the vessel like an ocean of fog, hiding it from radar scanners for the first time in days. There were no alarms, no chases, no explosions, no only silence. Ethan sat quietly in the pilot's chair, his eyes half open, exhaustion clear on his face. He had not slept properly since he found the alien mother in the snow. Now he was a fugitive, hunted by a galaxy that didn't even know his name yesterday. He leaned back, whispering to himself, "From a miner to a criminal in 1 week. Not bad, Ethan." Behind him, the twin babies slept peacefully in their pods, their soft blue light reflecting off the metal walls. Sometimes their glow flickered in rhythm, as if their hearts were beating together. Ethan often wondered what kind of power they held. Their mother's pendant hinted they were more than children. They were something sacred, something the galaxy feared. Suddenly, the ship's communication system buzzed to life. Static filled the cabin, followed by a robotic news voice. Breaking update. The Galactic Council has issued a red-level warrant for the human known as Ethan Cross, accused of kidnapping and harboring royal fugitives from the destroyed Varellan Empire. All bounty hunters and patrols are authorized to engage on site. Reward, 2 million credits alive. Ethan froze. His name echoed in the silent ship. He stared at the flickering screen where his photo appeared, taken from mining records, showing his tired but determined face, his stomach twisted. The words "alive if possible" didn't sound like mercy. He turned off the broadcast quickly. He didn't want the twins to hear, even though they were too young to understand. He rubbed his temples and muttered, "So now the whole galaxy's after us. Great." He checked the ship's scanner. The nebula was interfering with signals, which meant he was safe for now, but not for long. Sooner or later, someone would come looking. Hours passed, and the nebula began to thin out, revealing the bright stars of open space. Ethan adjusted his route toward a small abandoned moon listed in his ship's database. He needed fuel and supplies. When he landed, the engines hissed. Steam rising from the vents, the surface was dry and cracked, but there were signs of old structures, maybe a forgotten outpost. Ethan stepped outside, wearing his helmet and carrying his plasma rifle just in case. He searched the ruins carefully. Inside one building, he found working power cells, old food packs, and a broken AI terminal. He fixed it using a spare energy chip and powered it on. The holographic face of an old AI appeared, flickering weakly. System rebooting. Identification? "Ethan Cross," he said. "I need help analyzing alien tech." The AI scanned the pendant and projected strange data patterns in the air. Its voice changed, sounding almost curious. "This crystal belongs to the Virilan royal line," it said. Ethan nodded. "Yeah, I figured that much," the AI continued. "Inside it is more than a message. It carries genetic data, protection codes, and something else." Ethan leaned closer. "Something else?" The hologram blinked. "Energy signature. The twins are linked to it. When they connect, their power can reshape organic matter." Ethan's eyes widened. "You mean they can heal?" The AI nodded slowly. "More than heal. They can restore what was lost. Life itself." Ethan took a deep breath, staring at the pendant glowing softly in his hand. He finally understood why everyone wanted them. They weren't just royal heirs, they were living weapons. He whispered, "That's why their mother ran. She didn't want them used for war." Before he could think further, the AI's sensors beeped. "Warning, 2 ships approaching atmosphere. Bounty class." Ethan's blood ran cold. He looked up at the sky. 2 dark shapes were descending fast, leaving trails of fire behind them. He ran back to his ship, yelling, "Not again!" As he entered, the twins began to cry, glowing brighter with every sound. He rushed to the controls, starting the engines. But one of the bounty ships fired. The blast hit the ground nearby, shaking everything. Dust filled the air. Ethan's voice trembled. "Hold together, old girl, don't die on me now." He managed to lift off just as the second ship fired a missile. The explosion knocked him sideways, the ship spinning uncontrollably. He regained control at the last second, speeding toward open space, but the bounty hunters were faster. They surrounded him, 3 ships now. Closing in, a voice came through the radio, deep and cold. "Ethan Cross, surrender the fugitives, and you may live." Ethan smirked, even in fear. "Sorry, not in the mood." He pulled a lever, releasing a cloud of metallic dust, a trick he used in asteroid mining. The dust spread fast. Confusing the enemy scanners, he turned sharply, diving toward a nearby planet covered in storms. Inside the clouds, lightning struck across the sky. His ship trembled, alarms blaring. He dodged debris and energy burst while the twins cried behind him, their glow flickering wildly. One hunter followed him into the storm. The others stayed behind. Ethan gritted his teeth. "Just one?" "Fine." He flew low through the clouds, then suddenly pulled up. The hunter tried to follow, but lightning struck its engine. The ship exploded in a flash of blue fire. Ethan's voice was low. "That's one less." When he finally escaped the storm, he set the ship to autopilot and collapsed in his chair. He was bleeding from a cut on his forehead, but he didn't care. He turned to look at the twins. One of them was awake. Glowing softly, Ethan smiled weakly. "Don't worry, I'm fine." The baby reached out its hand, touching the glass of its pod, and suddenly, the cut on Ethan's head began to close. He touched it in disbelief. "The wound was gone," he whispered. "You healed me." The ship drifted quietly through space, and Ethan leaned back, staring at the pendant again. He realized something powerful. The twins' energy wasn't just a curse, it was hope. And if the galaxy feared it, That only meant it was something worth protecting, but outside, far away. The galactic network broadcasted his image again, the voice cold and final. The human fugitive Ethan Cross remains at large. All systems are ordered to report sightings immediately. Wanted posters spread across every starport, every colony, every planet. And while the galaxy hunted him, Ethan whispered to the sleeping twins, "Let them come. As long as I breathe, no one's taking you away." The stars outside Ethan's ship looked cold and distant. He sat quietly in the dim cockpit, his eyes tired but burning with determination. The wanted alerts had spread across every planet and station. There was nowhere left to hide, nowhere safe for a human carrying royal alien children. Yet even as the galaxy turned against him, Ethan refused to stop. The twins slept peacefully in their glowing pods, their tiny faces calm, unaware of the danger closing in. Ethan looked at them and whispered, "You're all I have left now." He touched the crystal pendant hanging near the console. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat as if answering him. He smiled faintly. "Yeah, I know. We keep moving." But deep inside he knew running wasn't enough anymore. The bounty hunters were relentless, and now the galactic enforcers had joined the chase. Their fleets could cover entire star systems. He couldn't fight them head-on, not for long. Still, he had to try. His ship limped across the stars. Damaged and low on fuel, he followed the last coordinates the pendant had shown him. A dead planet orbiting a red sun. When he arrived, it looked empty, covered in dark rock and burning dust storms, but the pendant glowed brighter. Guiding him toward a canyon hidden beneath the surface, he followed it, and soon, a faint energy field appeared, an ancient structure buried underground. He landed the ship at the entrance and stepped out carefully. Holding the pendant, it shimmered and projected a door made of light. He walked through it, amazed. Inside was a vast chamber, silent and old, walls covered in strange glowing runes. At the center stood a large circular platform surrounded by alien machines. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. This must be the sanctuary. He placed the twins' pods gently on the platform. The machines activated, scanning them with beams of blue light. The pendant rose from his hand and hovered above them. A soft female voice echoed through the chamber. The same one from the message, "Welcome, Protector." The royal heirs are recognized. Sanctuary protocol activated. Ethan smiled weakly. For the first time, it felt like maybe, just maybe, they were safe. But that hope lasted only seconds. His ship's alarm screamed through his communicator. Enemy ships had entered orbit. He ran outside and saw the dark sky flashing red. The enforcers had found him, he whispered. How? How did they track us here? Then he realized. The pendant's activation had sent out an energy pulse. They must have detected it. Ethan raced back inside. Setting up the old defense systems, the machines whirred to life. Ancient cannons rising from the ground. He looked at the sleeping twins one last time and said softly, "You stay safe. I'll hold them off." He grabbed his plasma rifle, his jaw tight, his heart steady. Moments later, explosions shook the canyon. Dust and fire filled the air as enforcer ships descended. Hundreds of soldiers in black armor marched out, surrounding the ruins. A voice boomed through their speakers. "Ethan Cross, by galactic law you are charged with treason and genetic theft. Surrender the royal fugitives!" Ethan shouted back. "They're not fugitives, they're children." But his words vanished in the roar of engines. He fired first, hitting one of the landing crafts. The explosion lit up the sky, scattering debris. The old defense cannons joined in, blasting energy beams toward the invaders. For a few minutes, the canyon became a storm of fire and smoke. Ethan fought like a soldier, ducking behind rocks, shooting with precision. Every time he fell, he got up again, fueled by one thought: protect them. Then a blast hit near him, throwing him to the ground. Pain shot through his leg. But he crawled back toward the platform inside. The sanctuary systems glowed brighter. The twins' pods floating in the air now, protected by a shield of light. Ethan smiled through the blood on his face, whispering, "Good. They're safe." The enforcers broke through the outer walls surrounding him. Their leader, a tall figure in silver armor, stepped forward. His voice was cold and sharp. "You've caused enough chaos, human. Hand over the heirs." Ethan stood weakly, gripping his rifle. "You'll have to kill me first." The leader aimed his weapon. "Gladly." But before he could shoot, the pendant exploded in light. The entire chamber glowed with energy, blue and gold swirling like fire. The twins opened their eyes, floating inside their pods. Their glow merged into a single beam that struck the ground. A wave of force blasted outward, knocking the enforcers off their feet. Ethan shielded his eyes, shouting, "What's happening?" The pendant's voice spoke again, calm and powerful. Final protection protocol activated. Energy transfer to Guardian. Ethan's body glowed, wounds closing, strength flooding back. He felt heat in his veins, power unlike anything human. The enforcers stood frozen, weapons useless. Ethan looked at his hands, glowing with the same light as the twins. He whispered, "You gave it to me. Didn't you?" He turned toward the enforcers, his voice steady. "Leave now, or none of you will leave alive." For the first time, fear filled their faces. The ground trembled as the ancient structure powered up fully. Columns of light shot into the sky. Breaking through the planet's clouds, the enforcers fled, their ships rising quickly into orbit. When it was over, the light faded. Ethan fell to his knees, exhausted. The twins' glow softened as they drifted back into their pods. He smiled faintly, whispering, "You did it. We did it." Then he looked up at the pendant hovering above. Its light dimmed slowly, almost like a heartbeat fading. The voice whispered one last time. Guardian recognized. Mission fulfilled. And then it went dark outside. The planet's storms calmed for the first time in centuries. The sanctuary stood silent, hidden and safe once more. Ethan leaned against the wall, looking at the twins sleeping peacefully. He knew he couldn't run forever, but at least for now, they were safe, he whispered softly. "If this is my last stand, it was worth it." The red sun of the forgotten world hung low in the dusty sky. The air was still, the battle long over. Smoke drifted gently above the ancient sanctuary where Ethan Cross had made his final stand. Inside, silence filled the great hall, broken only by the faint hum of the alien machines still pulsing with life. Ethan lay near the platform, his armor scorched, his body weak but alive. The pendant, now cracked and dim, rested beside him. The twins floated in their pods, their glow soft and calm like moonlight. He tried to move but winced in pain, smiling faintly through it. "Still breathing," he whispered to himself. "Guess I'm not done yet." He looked at the twins, his eyes full of pride. They had saved him. And everyone else, their power had stopped the enforcers, sealed the sanctuary, and brought peace to this world once forgotten. But the cost had been high. Ethan knew he couldn't stay awake much longer. He dragged himself closer to the pods, touching the glass gently. "You did it, little ones," he said softly. "You're safe now." He looked at the cracked pendant, its faint light flickering. Then he pressed the record button on his wrist console. "If anyone finds this message..." "My name is Ethan Cross," he began, his voice low but steady. "I'm human. I found your queen in the snow. She trusted me with her children." He paused, breathing heavily. "I don't know what happens next, but I want whoever hears this to know. Humanity isn't cruel. We protect life, no matter what shape it takes," he smiled weakly. "Take care of them wherever they go." The recording ended. The pendant flickered one last time and absorbed the message. Sealing it deep within, Ethan leaned back, closing his eyes. For the first time in years, he felt peace. Centuries passed. The galaxy changed, empires rose and fell, and the story of Ethan Cross became a myth told around campfires and in deep space bars. Some said he was a smuggler who betrayed the law. Others said he was a guardian chosen by the stars. But the truth, only two beings in the universe still remembered deep within the sanctuary. The twin heirs of Virella grew under the protection of the ancient machines. The boy, KL, was calm and thoughtful. The girl, Lyra, fierce and full of light. They aged slowly, their bodies infused with the same energy that once protected them as infants. The pendant guided them, teaching them their history, their mother's sacrifice, and Ethan's one day when the sanctuary finally opened its doors again. The twins stood beneath the rising sun, their eyes glowing gold and blue. The pendant floated between them, playing Ethan's old message. His voice echoed softly through the canyon. "My name is Ethan Cross. Humanity protects life." Lyra wiped a tear from her cheek. Cale clenched his fists, his voice firm. "He gave everything for us," she nodded. "Then we give something back." They climbed aboard a sleek vessel built from the ancient technology of the sanctuary. As they rose into the sky, the pendant projected one final star map, leading to the heart of the galaxy. The twins exchanged a look. That's where it began, Kale said. And where we end it, Lyra replied far across the galaxy. The name Ethan Cross still appeared in old archives, classified under Galactic Law 7B Human Traitor. Case closed, but among explorers, there were whispers of something else. A mysterious energy field around a dead planet. A voice that sometimes played over old radio signals. A human voice saying, "Protect them." One day, a passing cargo ship picked up the faint signal. The crew listened quietly as the voice repeated again and again, "We protect life, no matter what shape it takes." They didn't know who he was, but those words spread across space like fire. And slowly, people began to question the old laws that condemned compassion.
Years later, the twins returned, not as fugitives, but as leaders. They brought peace to worlds torn apart by fear. They spoke of unity, of how life in every form had value, and whenever people asked who taught them that, they would smile and say, "A human, named Ethan Cross." In time, they found his old ship buried under the red sands of Virella's moon. Inside, untouched by time, was his jacket, his broken rifle, and a small engraved tag. On it were 3 simple words: "Protector of Virella." Lyra held it close to her chest, whispering, "You're still here, old friend." Kale smiled. "He'll never be forgotten." They placed the tag inside the pendant, and it glowed brighter than it had in centuries. For a moment, a hologram flickered. Ethan's face appeared, smiling warmly. "I knew you'd make it," he said softly. Before fading into light, the twins stood there, their eyes filled with tears. The pendant's light rose into the sky, disappearing among the stars, and from that day forward, every colony, every race, and every child in the new alliance learned his story, the tale of the miner who defied an empire, the human who saved 2 alien children and changed the stars. They called him the Protector of Virella, not a soldier, not a hero, just a man who believed in doing what was right. As the galaxy moved on, a legend remained, that somewhere beyond the edge of space, when a traveler was lost or afraid, a soft voice could still be heard in the static of the stars, saying gently, "You're not alone, protect them." And the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, as if they remembered the man who once dared to stand against the galaxy, for love, for kindness, and for the promise that made him immortal.